Have you got some leftover fridge magnets that are starting to look a little shabby? And because magnets aren't cheap and they're a reasonable size, you don't want to throw them out. Would you like to know what we can do with these today? If you answered yes to those questions, stay watching and I'll show you what to do about it. I have some old fridge magnets that I had on my fridge, and I am going to turn them into 4 coasters and then some recycled fridge magnets, all paper napkins from NinnysNapkins. And if you look in the description below, you will find a link and also a discount code that you can use. These napkins, I've cut out the shapes once I've glued them onto the magnet. These ones aren't from NinnysNapkins, they're just a couple of little scraps I had, but I'm sure she's got some lovely shapes. These butterflies would have been nice to cut out in her range of napkins. This is just some leftover scraps, and this is just, if I wanted to put a piece of paper on the fridge, I could just use that either side to hold it on, and it's a little bit more decorative than just the piece of magnet on its own. So I could have some pretty little ones of those as well. And then I've got these 4 that, because magnet is quite thick, this would make a nice protective barrier on your table if you wanted some pretty coasters. So I'm just cutting 4 coasters out of one of the napkins. And it was an all over pattern, so it's quite mix and match and it looks nice together. So if you like what you see today, just push the like button or subscribe and let me know that you like this type of thing so that I know to produce more videos of the same. Do you have leftover fridge magnet calendars at the end of every year and think, oh, that's an awful lot of magnet to go to waste? Well, why not just paint the side that you don't want anymore with white paint? Just sponge it on and just completely cover it, and by doing it with a sponge you're not leaving lines like you would with a paintbrush. You're leaving an even all over pattern. Now you might find that once you've done it once, you might want to come back and give it a second coat because it is not solid white enough. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to redecorate the front of it with something else. Done this on just a scrap piece of plastic I was going to throw out anyway, so there's no wastage there. I don't even need to clean it up because I'm going to throw it away. And then I just set these all out to dry. I've cut these magnets down into 10-inch squares after I finished painting them. That was the original size of the magnet. And once I painted it, and it dried, I've cut them down into 10 by 10 inch squares. I intend with these particular magnets to make them into coasters because the magnet's quite a thick surface, and it will protect the table. But the other thing is, when you're not using them, you could just put them on the fridge. And these are going to make a very pretty place on the fridge. Now what I have is a roll of double-sided tape, and I'm just going to put the magnet paint side down. There we are. And I have a little knife, blade, and I'll just cut along the edge of the magnet. I don't need a ruler because the magnet gives me a raised edge that I can cut beside, and go around the edge of each of these pieces, cut off any excess that there is. And I'm on a cutting mat, as you can see, so I'm not going to damage the table while I'm doing this. Now, if the magnet had been wider than my tape, I just would have to put more tape down, that's all, side by side. So, it doesn't matter what size your magnet is. The tape can go down side by side. Okay, so we've got all that cut and covered. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to make matching coasters, and I'm going to make it from this all over pattern. I just want them all a little bit different. So what I need to do first is take the layers off, which you always do when you do this sort of thing. There's one layer. Got some of that leftover tape. I'll just put that on the edge there. I'll be able to pull that napkin. Now I just put this down and spread it out as flat as I can, and I'm just going to try and stay away from those folds there, those big folds there. Now we just peel the layer off the sticky tape, and we just position this down on here. Okay, and then we do the next one. Now that I've got all those on, I'll turn it over and smooth it out as much as I can, although it was pretty smooth when it went on. There's not really any ripples there. And then I'm just going to cut along the edges with a pair of scissors. So now that I've cut them apart, then I'm going to cut right up to the edge with the scissors. If you didn't quite get all of the double-sided tape, you can get the rest of that too. Now, if you weren't doing this with napkin, if you were, say, using a photograph or some pretty decorative paper or something like that that wasn't so transparent, you wouldn't need to paint the magnet first. The other thing is, I've painted the magnet, but you could have chosen to stick white paper to the magnet. So you could just stick the double-sided adhesive to the printed side of the magnet, glue the white paper to that, put another layer of double-sided adhesive on top of the white paper, and then glued that onto the napkin. The method I'm showing you today is to use double-sided tape, but you know, you've got a choice of whether you need white underneath, depending on what you're putting on top. You'd only need white underneath if it was a transparent paper like napkin or a fairly see-through rice paper or something like that. Now see, they're all slightly different, but they match. So that makes a nice little set of 4 coasters. But I want to protect the napkins, so now what I'll do is I'll come back and paint a sealer over the top. The other thing you could do is just tape clear contact over the top, and that could seal it as well. Now if you were using clear contact, you would just peel off the contact and put these face down straight on the contact, and then just cut off your edges again. Now I'm about to seal these. I've already sealed those and they've dried, but what I'm using is a Liquitex acrylic medium gloss varnish, and just a soft bristle paintbrush. Any soft bristle paintbrush will do, and you just go over the top, and I'm moving from the edge, from the middle out to the edge on all sides. And I actually put 2 coats on the others, so once this coat dries, I would come back and give it a second coat. And make sure you've got all your edges completely covered. It dulls it down a bit when it's wet, but once it dries, it brightens right back up again. It doesn't take a lot of varnish either, quite a quick job. So as you can see, this is a beginner project. Anybody could do this, quite quick and easy to do. I didn't try and peel those print that was already on those magnets off because they were, it's too well adhered, and it just comes off in patches, and then you're going to have a bumpy surface. So you're better just going straight over what already exists on the magnet rather than trying to peel that off. If somebody does come up with a way of getting it off easily without bumpy bits being left, please put it in the comments. I'd love to know. I'm just going to give you a close-up now of all those napkins on the magnets, just so you can see how smooth this particular method is. And as you are seeing the close-ups on the video, the names of the napkins I've used from Ninny's Napkin will come up on the screen as well. See how nice and smooth they are? So that's not a bad method. the double-sided tape for flat surfaces. I haven't tried it on a curved surface. I've only tried it on flat surfaces so far. Now the little owls are not part of Ninny's range, as I stated before.